Welcome to this new video of Sonic Gazelle Pilot. Today I want to address an issue that I had. When flying career missions, we have to follow the flight path that is predefined by the mission. And often we don't have an Rnav approach and cannot fly the entire flight with autopilot. So I thought, what if I want to have a custom flight path that allows me to fly and approach the runway using autopilot? And this is what we are going to see in this video. As you can see here, we are flying in Belgium from Echo Bravo November Mike to Echo Bravo Tango November. It's important that we write this down because we will make a flight plan for this route. I've gone ahead and positioned my airplane at the airport of Echo Bravo November Mike at the beginning of runway 24. Now it is important to tell you that for this video I'm making use of the software Navigraph. Maybe you don't have a subscription of Navigraph. I must say Navigraph is really a good tool that has many features and is probably better than the electronic flight bag. So you may want to continue watching and could be convinced to get a subscription for Navigraph. To start planning this flight, I have brought up Navigraph Charts, the application that is on the desktop. It's important not to use the one built into the electronic flight bag. That's because you will see that I will drag with the mouse on the flight path, but you will see that in a moment. Some of you are familiar with Navigraph, others are not, but you can see that this is very intuitive. You just click New Flight. We will enter for the origin Echo Bravo November Mike, add it to the route, and then as a destination we will hit select and enter Echo Bravo Tango November and add it to the route. For the origin at Echo Bravo November Mike we will select a runway and we will take 24 right, add it to the route. And for the destination we will select a runway and we will select 24 and add it to the routes. So now we have a straight line from the origin to the destination, but first we want to make the departure a little bit more flyable. So what I do, I click and hold the path and I drag it so that I have an alignment with the departure runway. And when I release it, this is my first custom waypoint. I will do this once more so that we can have a turn that is not too sharp, and we have a second custom waypoint. The same we are going to do at the arrival destination airports. So if I zoom in, we want to land straight to runway 24. So I will click and drag and make a straight line to runway 24. Now you can see that here I have 0 nautical miles. If I drag it a little bit further, it is 1 nautical miles. How much nautical miles do we want to drag it out? Well, assume that we are going to descend at a rate of 300 feet per mile, which is relatively smooth. Then per mile there is an altitude loss of 300 feet. So if we would drag that waypoint 5 miles out, that's 5 times 300 feet or 15,000 feet, 1,500 feet. So what I will do, I will drag this out to 5 nautical miles. I have to zoom out. 4, 5 nautical miles, and I make sure it's a straight line to the runway. Assume that we start here 1500 feet above the ground and we start descending at a rate of 300 feet per mile, then we will hit the ground at the start of the runway. I'm going to add another waypoint in a similar way so that we don't have to make aggressive turns, like this, and that's our entire flight path. All we have to do is bring this now into the avionics of the airplane. So how do you do that? Well, we can simply click on export and copy to clipboard. If we then go to the flight simulator and bring up the electronic flight bag with Navigraph charts, what we can do is simply make a new flight and enter text routes here and paste the route. If we click done, you will see that we have our flights right here from Echo Bravo November, 2 waypoints to turn and 2 waypoints at the end, the last one being 5 nautical miles out from runway 24 at Echo Bravo Tango November. How do we bring this into the plane? Well, if you click on export and load as active flight plan, I can bring away Navigraph charts now. You will notice that in the Garmin 1000 simulator we have our flight plan. Let me zoom in a little, zoom out a little, and you can see our flight plan is in the avionics. So what we can do now is depart. Now a final thing is, as we know that we have to be 1500 feet above ground altitude, we are interested in what is actually the altitude of the ground. So once again, we bring up the electronic flight bag, we search for our arrival airport, Echo Bravo Tango November, and then we bring up the charts and go to info, and we will see that our runway has an elevation of 73 meters. So let's round that to 100 meters. So our altitude has to be 1500 feet above 100 meters, so that's 1500 feet plus 100 meters, that's 1600 feet. And we are going to bring this in the airplane now. I click on vertical speed, turn this knob, and I have put 1600 feet as our cruising altitude. What rate are we going to climb? I click twice on vertical speed and then on nose up. And now you see here we climb at 200 feet per minute. Let's bring this to 600 feet per minute for climbing. And now we can actually take off. I noticed that there is a lot of wind today. I release the parking brakes and I will announce departure to ATC.
Echo Bravo November Mike traffic BAW 8422 Papa Uniform Papa 90711 taking off runway 24L departure to the west.
And full throttle. The wind is from the right. And we can take off. And as everything is in the GPS, I can simply click autopilot and nav, release the yoke, and the plane will start following our flight path, which can be seen in Navigraph charts. We are actually this pink arrow, and I have to do nothing, and we will just continue flying until we arrive at our last waypoint where we will start the descent. So I will skip ahead and be back once we reach that waypoint. So here we are back, and we are near the arrival path, as you can see on the GPS. The next waypoint is Foxtrot Papa Lima 002. You can see that we are at distance from Foxtrot Papa Lima of 0 nautical miles, and then we will make a left turn. Note that we are at 1600 feet, so we are 1500 feet above ground elevation. We are heading now to the final waypoint, which is Foxtrot Papa. No, the one to last waypoint is in 1.3 nautical miles. .2 nautical miles. There's actually very much wind today, so I hope that it will work. We should see the airport on the left hand side. Let's see if there is an indicator. Well, I cannot see the waypoint, but anyway, we are nearing now the final waypoint. The plane is turning left, and now we have to start descending at 300 feet per mile. So I hit vertical speed, put the elevation that we want to reach to 0, and then I hit vertical speed twice and nose down, vertical speed, nose down to 300 feet per mile descent. And now I have to do nothing anymore. We are on the final custom glide path, as you can see here. The runway should be straight ahead of us. And I guess this is the runway here. We are descending at 300 feet per minute. Maybe I engaged it a little bit late, but as you can see, it's a way to mimic an Rnav approach. We are heading for the runway. Let us enjoy how autopilot does everything for us for a while. Of course, it's less precise than an Rnav approach, but it gives us general idea. We are flying sideways. This is not the runway is here. Sideways because there's a strong wind from the right. But you can see we are nicely going down to the runway with this customized glide path. I will start adjusting speed because we are now at 102, so I will reduce the throttle and let speed descend to a nice 65 knots. I think once we are under 80 knots, I can pull out the flaps. So I'll wait a little moment for that and do that right now with my external gear and put the flaps to 2. All I have to do in the end is disengage autopilot and land the plane manually. with the speed lever, I'll try to maintain about 65 knots. And I think that at this moment I can disengage autopilot and I can land the plane as good as I can with this strong wind. Wind blows me to the side, so this will probably not be a very soft landing. Try to align and bring it down. So I hope you learned something useful. Maybe you want to consider having a subscription on Navigraph so you can do this all for yourself. If you like this video, please subscribe or give me at least a thumbs up. Thank you and bye bye from Sonic Gazelle Pilots.